All right, so I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes showing you how to add some design to your Google Doc. So if you've ever created a Google Doc and it looks a little like this, and like me, you don't wear your glasses, sometimes it's hard to read through the text or really decipher what's in front of you. So there are several things in G Suite and in Google Docs that can help you make this a little easier to read and a little more interesting to look at. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is actually headers or styles. So in Google, right up here in your menu bar, you're always going to have what it says normal text because that's the default. I'm going to triple click my title here. So triple click will highlight a whole line. So if you've never triple clicked, today is a good time to start. I'm going to come up here to normal text. I'm going to click that drop down and I'm going to select title because that's exactly what it is. And automatically, I understand that this document is about adding some extra flair to a Google Doc. Of course, in your format toolbar, you can do things like center it and give it a different color, or even come over here and let's talk about those fun fonts. Give it something that has a little more personality for you. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is talk about headers. So now we have this really great title right here as a header. So I did a triple click again. You can also just do a double click for a word. I'm going to come up to normal text and select heading 1. So you can see that I'm starting to build a design. So that was heading 1. If this is a subheading, I would select heading 2, and then I could continue to go through and complete that task. So I've got just 2 more. I'm going to make that a heading 1, and I'll make this last one a heading 1 as well. But actually, this one should have been a heading 2. All right. So if you've done this and you're like, now I have this really great font at the top and those fonts at the bottom just really aren't doing it for me, you can go in and change the font here as well. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to add it to that fun font that I had. So notice that it changed here, but it didn't change on my second header. So if I'm in heading 1 and I've changed it to the text, you can even give it the color that you want. So I'm going to just give it like a nice little blue. I'm going to come back to heading 1. I'm going to hit that little drop down. I'm going to hover right on top of this arrow next to heading 1. You got to hover to discover, and it will say apply heading 1 or update heading 1 to match. So anytime you make a change to the font, you want to update heading 1 to match, and then boom, it did it right there for us. I'm going to show you that again with the heading 2. I'm going to come in here, going to change the font type. I'll give it a color as well. And then I'm going to come back to this heading 2 in my format toolbar, click that arrow, hover over the heading 2, and then click update to match. And then all my subheadings now look. So with just a couple of clicks, we've designed some work, or we've designed some interesting things to look at. So the other thing I want to talk to you about, my favorite piece of Google Doc or Google in general, is when I love to change text. I do not live within the Arial or Times New Roman world normally, and also I don't like small text. So I'm going to highlight this paragraph. I'm actually going to triple click it to highlight it so I don't have to click, hold, and drag. And so we're at Arial, we're at 10.5. 10.5 is a little small for my eyes. I'm going to make it 12. So there's a couple of things that you can do here. You could always go to normal text to hover and do the update to match. If you didn't want every single text to be that way, you can highlight the text or a word that has the format that you want. And right up here in your format toolbar, you've got this little paint format. If you click that 2 times, it turns yellow. And that means, or blue now actually, so everything always changes in Google. So you just double click it and it holds. It's like permanently saying that everything that you do going forward is going to be Arial and 12. And so you can see my cursor is even changed. It's a paintbrush now. So anywhere I go and click a word, it's going to change to Arial 12. And so I can triple click and it will do the whole paragraph. I can just highlight certain parts of a sentence if I want it to just be some of the text. But anytime you do font changes and you don't want to continue to go and click the font choice and or the color and the size, this is a great way to do it. I'm going to deselect that format toolbar. It would be the same thing if you wanted all the text in the document to be the same. You could do normal text and change it as well. So I just want to show you what that would look like too. So if I change this to just like a darker black or lighter gray, I'm going to come up to normal text, hover, update normal text, and then if you noticed, everything turned to that gray color. So one of the other benefits to using Google Doc, or another way to make it just a little more interesting, is to add in some images. So towards the bottom, well, let's see. I have my image right on top of it. I'm going to think through this. I'm going to go ahead and hit the X on my image. You don't need to see me. I'm going to click this explore icon to the bottom right, and then this will allow you to add in an image or search for an image. So I'm just going to search for one. I'm going to search for, I do that every time. I'm going to search for file, go to images, and so I've got some things in here that I can use. I'm just going to keep it really basic and use this top one. So you can click it to view it, or you can just click this plus sign to insert it. I'm going to click that to go in there. And then once it's here, you can click the icon and resize it. So some of the things to remember, it's going to link it for you. When you click the icon, you get this little menu bar at the bottom where you can wrap the text or put it in front. Oops, I actually lost it. I'm sorry. Bring that back up. And then just pop it right here next to this paragraph. So it will wrap the text in front of you. If you want it to break text, you can do that as well. So you've got some options when you put it in there. One thing to remember is when you do have anything in Google different than text, if you click it, your format bar will change, and that will allow you some options. So you can always add borders around your images if you want to. You can change the thickness and the way that they look. You can also crop your image. So if there's too much white space on this Google Doc, and I can bring in that side, and that will edit it for me. And you can also do things with your image options as well. This has your text wrapping if it's not comfortable for you to do it at the bottom. You can recolor it. So if black wasn't your color, sometimes it gives you like reds and blues and greens. It didn't for this since it's just an icon. But you do have, I would definitely tell you to explore with that icon up towards the top. All right, and last thing that I want to talk to you about is sometimes you guys get Google Docs from your students, and you want to provide feedback to them, and there's a couple of ways that can happen. So if they have this header, but none of the text actually answered what they said, you can highlight the text. You can even just highlight a sentence in the text, and you'll see this little plus sign to the right-hand side, and this is your add comment. You can get there several ways. You can do it here. You can also hit this little text box to the top and add a comment there as well. And then you would type in the person's name if you would want them to get an email notification. If they're going to visit this Google Doc, you don't have to worry about that. They'll just see the comments. And you can add your suggestion to improve your document here. So this is a great way for you to provide feedback without actually changing the work. If it's edits, as far as like they didn't put quotations or periods or grammar, you can always come in and highlight that text too. Actually, you don't need, I just told you a lie. You're going to come up here to the top, change this from editing to suggesting, And this means that you can go in and anything that you type will come in green. And these are suggestions that you're making. So you can add words, you can add punctuation, you can even add new sentences if you wanted to, because you feel like something was missing from it. This will allow the editor to come back and see that you've made all those suggestions. And then if they agree with them, they can hit the check mark and it makes it a part of their actual document. And then those edits are made and they've learned from you. And then they can also make changes to that. They can reply to your comment, so they can ask questions or tell you that it was done. And then when they've completed that work, they hit resolve and that comment will go away. So just some really great things. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up for Google Docs, and hopefully you learned a few tricks that will help you in your Google Doc journey.